Selden, how long have we known each other?
Oh my God, not even a year. And it feels like, well, do you want to know the soul? The soul number? The soul number is like, I just got the number thousands. Like we may have known each other in a lifetime like thousands of years ago.
Yeah, yeah,
But in this lifetime, it's not even been a year, which is crazy because
and after 1,000 lifetimes, Selden still decided to play hard to get when we met in this lifetime.
playing hard to get, you're married.
I know. I was like, "Hey, I'm here. I know you. I know. Talk to me." And you're like, "No."
Oh, really? Oh, that's so interesting. I didn't even know that I did that.
Well,
That
what we're talking
that
about is
certainly wasn't intentional.
I know, I'm kidding. Well, what we're talking about is we met through Irene and the SPT group, and we start getting on these like preliminary calls, and I'm like, "Who's this girl? She looks so familiar." And I'm like putting
Same,
up on my screen. I'm like, "Where do I
same,
know her from?"
same. That has been happening to me a lot lately. So when I first thought that about you is when you did your interview with Irene. And I saw you and I was like, "Oh, I know him. I know him. I know him from my party days, I think." And I kept like searching my memory bank to just be like, and then I was like, wait, he is so much younger than me. Like when I was in my party days, you were like,
In high school or something.
not
I'm
even.
joking. So you're
You were like
8 or
12.
9 years older than me, right? No, you're eight
Yeah,
or 9 years older than me,
thought
Matt.
I was 10.
It's close to 10, but it's not. I know that.
How old are you?
39. I had to think about it.
Oh yeah, you're right. Okay,
I'm 25 going on 40.
so 8 years old. 8 years older than you. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, then I was like, so wait, I don't know him from that. I'm like, oh shit, this is some past life stuff.
Well, I said that to you when you were walking across the room because I was like, all right, I'm sick of playing easy stuff here. And I was like, hey, I think I know you, right? And you were like, yeah, like whatever, dude. And I was like, from not from another lifetime. And you were like deer in the headlights. And then you sat down. I was like, okay, here we go.
Well, I was like, oh, I didn't know that you would roll like that. Like
Ah!
I was like, oh, he's down. Okay, okay. Because I was just like, I'm not sure. It's really interesting that you say that though. This is like I'm surprised we're going here, but let's just do it. You're not the first person that's told me that I'm like a little bit standoffish at first in person, which is
Hmm.
really interesting because like now that I know my human design, I'm a 5-1. There is like and it's obviously something that I'm working on in my own nervous system, my relational patterns and things like
Was
that.
boundaries, healthy boundaries too.
There's healthy boundaries, but there's also some fear. There's also some
Hmm.
fear around getting, or there always has been around getting close to people, or fear of like what they think of me, and
Yeah.
I think it comes off like I don't like know necessarily that I'm doing it, but I'm trying to be in my own energy, but I think that's really hard for me with when I'm like with people and in groups because my energy tends to get really really big. And
Yeah.
even if like I'm not the kind of person that can walk into a room and just hide for some reason. Like
And
people
and
always
just
seem to
what?
notice, like hide.
Hide. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
some people always seem to notice me or like, not like in a cocky way or anything, but like it just seems that like people always, you know, so I think that I don't know that about. I've never really known that about myself, so I think I've
Hmm.
always just tried to be like incognito and then it comes off as like standoffish sometimes. So that's interesting.
I get that. And
Hard to
you
say.
you taught me about the human design stuff, and that really resonates
Yeah.
for me. And mine is like wait for things to come to me. And man, that shows up in my healing journey so much. But like I think when I go with the invitation instead of waiting for someone to come to me, then I can feel like very aggressive, abrasive, too much, and like come off as like whoa. But if it's like if somebody introduces me, it's so much more natural, and
Hmm.
we kind of go from there.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's also this process for me of like unlearning that fawn of like having to be the one who's social and nice and talking to everybody. Like that social butterfly was part of my identity for so long. And as
Same.
I've become regulated, I'm like, that's first of all, it's it's actually a lot of energy. It requires a lot of energy for us to just because we're basically fawning to a whole group of people, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
Trying to get them to like us, trying to be friends with
yeah.
us.
It's
As that,
perfectionism too.
yeah, 100%.
It's
And
like it's like what you just said. I realized this the other day. It's like I feel like in relationship, especially, like I'm responsible for everything. Not like, hey,
yeah,
I'm gonna take this first step, put this thing out there, and trust that the universe is or the person is gonna respond. It's like, oh no, I've got to handle all this stuff, and yeah, you're giving out
control how they
so much of
feel
your
about
energy.
me.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah,
so stressful and fatiguing.
totally.
And it's like, it's so much more authentic and relaxing to just be instead of like
Yeah,
performing for love and trying to
yeah,
control everything to feel safe when,
yeah,
because underneath it's just, there's not safety and we're working on that.
exactly. Yeah. And I
There
think
wasn't safety and we're building it.
exactly. I think as that dissolves, though, I wonder if the pendulum just kind of swings like back to that standoffish thing. It's like, trying not to do that swings you a little bit into the other direction of maybe being standoffish until you kind of come back into balance, which I hope is happening now, but
Oh yeah, no, I see it. I see it in you.
yeah.
Even like we
Yeah.
talked in like 2 weeks or something like that. It feels like a year again, and it's like so much I've seen you develop, and we're the same way. Like we're the same in we're very similar and very different.
Yeah,
What we're
100%.
going to talk about today, but it's like
Yeah.
we go through like a while ago, and this is probably still the same. I could always go to you and be like, "Hey, I'm going through this thing," and you're like, "Oh yeah, like I went through that then, and then this." But also, I go like really freaking fast. I think both of us.
Dude, so fucking fast. Holy shit. Like you've
Yeah.
been like a volcano that's erupted. Literally. It's like your volcano erupted like around the December. Man, I'm getting some like I'm all getting like all these. I love
Okay,
love
let's go.
it when I'm with the open person because it's just the information just come. But like around November, December, it was like this eruption, right? And through February. And then it's like that eruption just started to kind of settle.
Mhm.
And now there's like these little bit bursts, but that big like the boulder, right? The boulder.
Yeah, yeah.
That was a big piece of it, but then it was like that boulder almost unlocked so much right after that for you, I think.
Mhm. Yeah, and the what you're talking about, I believe, is where like realizing how I made myself small and would avoid confrontation to keep the peace. And I'm like
Yeah.
holding in parts of me, um, and just that's control. And for me, I like to be just in the moment and 100% myself. And I feel like I've got to dance around and walk on eggshells
Mm,
to stay in connection with someone or something. Like it just became more and more evident that that's what was going on. And every time I would do that, I would just shut down and it was kind of
yeah.
in line with what was going on energetically as well, which you guys taught me that a lot about that, like the horoscope and the human design,
Exactly.
how all that goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is like that's kind of how it is for me. It's like these big wide open bursts and then chilling and then boom and but yeah, it's I mean that's
It's
why I
been
have to make
amazing to see.
yeah.
It's been quite like a joy to witness
Oh yeah, and thanks for being
growth.
a guide, man. Like so much along the way.
Yeah.
I've been working on safety and uncertainty and so many times like having someone that's been a couple steps ahead of you in the journey to say like what the fuck is going on and you're like oh yeah yeah that's par for the course baby.
Totally. Yeah, because
That's
you
like
don't
go ahead and do
know.
that.
You don't know when you get into this work, just like that term sneaky powerful has been coming up for me again in the last couple of days. I heard Irene say it on a podcast here for the truth. And
Nice.
I'm like, man, it's really like, sorry,
You're
sorry, I froze. I know. Hold on a second. Sorry about that.
you're good.
Someone tried to call me. I have to turn my phone off.
Oh, I probably need to do that too.
Sorry about that.
You're
Um,
good. This is the first episode. I think this is my first episode that I've done. So like, yeah, I'm not really editing things, and there's gonna be some bleeps
I
and
know. I know. Sorry, everyone. Like this is like
authenticity. Authenticity.
real life shit happening right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh God, hold on. Yeah. Okay, got it. We're on do not disturb now. Sorry about that.
You're good.
Um, I can't remember what I was saying now. What was I saying?
I don't know. We're just talking about how we're similar and um, just some of the stuff that we've been through this year, and it was like a lot, big waves and
So
stuff like
yeah, oh, that's what it was. Yeah. So like when we start doing this work and we start releasing some of those big things, like a lot happens after. Like we don't really know what to expect. That's why like it's really important, I think, to have have a practitioner that you're working with. But for us, we're so fortunate that we had that group, the SPT group, and we have
that.
each other,
Yeah.
to just because everybody's a little bit different stages in their process and stuff. And we can say, like, if to me, it was it's just so supportive to hear, like, oh, that's normal for that to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's normal for you to be really activated. Like when I learned, oh, the process of releasing freeze from the system is that the activation has to come out. So, like, when that
And
all,
you get excited about that.
I
Now.
get excited about it now.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
like,
I'm like, let's
oh,
go, dude.
yes, totally. But
Yeah.
remember when it used to scare us so much?
So bad, so bad. And
Dude,
like,
terrified, terrified of the symptoms.
I got something for you. I just realized, and tell me if I'm right, that like, because when we're in class and Irene would say, something's coming up, can you be with it? I think that is how we take it to completion, right? Is literally just sitting and observing and saying, "Hey, I'm not going to turn away. I'm not going to
That's,
go get
yeah,
this other thing. I'm not going to avoid you. I'm not going to numb you. I'm just going to sit here and watch you and be like, this is fucking
that's the
awesome. I'm going
shift.
to cheer you on." And that feels like that's something I've been able to do more. And it feels like you do go up, boom, and then you hit this thing, and it's like I just forget what I was doing because now it's coming
Right.
down. Does that
Well,
make sense?
I mean, that's, yeah, I mean, that I think is the shift. That I think is like one of the biggest shifts because in that, at least in the beginning, when we sit with that activation and what's happening, we are always faced with the fear of whatever it was that happened to us when that thing got trapped.
Yeah.
Like, and then on top of that, the societal programming that we have around
Put a band-aid on it.
or well around fearing symptoms, right?
Well, I thought
Because
you were going to say fixing symptoms.
allopathic medicine, I mean, it's bad to have a symptom. Like your
Right.
body's doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Like, where's this going? Well, you could have a heart defect or what, all the things that the fear. It's just like that's like global fear of sensation and symptom, right? Yeah, global high activation. And so when we're able to like pause and take space and just feel what's happening without trying to fix it or change it, we are really processing through a ton of fear around the symptom in that moment. You know,
Yes.
making
Yes.
myself actually just be here. And where is that fear? Because there's like the fear's there, and then there's the activation. So it's always coupled in there,
And
together.
that's what I've been working on a lot recently through this brain retraining stuff. And it's so funny because I feel like there's a war that I'm on the side of somatic between top
Totally.
down and bottom up, right? And I would
100%.
say I'm going to go to bottom up. But in this scenario, and Lena, someone, shout out to Lena, really helped me with this. But I was doing it without knowing that's what brain retraining was. And it's basically what we're talking about. It's
Yeah.
recognizing the symptoms, and you pair them together is the way I do it. Recognize that it's in your system, figure out where is it in my body, what's it feel like, what's it saying, blah 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 blah, and then notice the action towards fixing. And it's like
Yeah.
that's the brain stuff. You go, oh, I know that this is urgent, that I want to be afraid of this fear, of this thought that I'm having, or this sensation in my body. I'm going to run to fix it. So instead of doing that, I'm going to notice the urgency. I'm going to sit with that part. I'm going to talk really nice to it. And I'm going to go back to what I was doing. Maybe do
Exactly.
some soothing or something like that. And within, for someone like me who I had so much fatigue, we were talking about this yesterday. I had so much fatigue. And I think for me, it's less about, Mitch, you're doing too much. it's your thinking there's danger too much.
Exactly.
And so
Well,
I
what
had
was
to
that?
interrupt that process. And for those that are listening to this, these are a lot of the guys that I work with. They got so much fatigue, a bunch of activation underneath it. And it's like, we're the biohackers, we're the fixers, we're the athletes, and sometimes it's better to just notice the thought and go back to what you're doing. I'd say within 1 week, my fatigue dropped by 50%.
That's awesome.
Same thing with Lena. She had,
Yeah.
I think she had a month of it, and she's doing a lot better too.
Yeah. Because of that shift, because of
Yeah,
that.
and it's like I want to debate like which
Yeah.
way is better, up or down, but it's like nah, they actually
They're
work.
both they're both great. But the thing what that I will say, at least this was the truth for me, I couldn't do any kind of mindset stuff until I had capacity.
Well, that's exactly right. I agree with that.
Because when you're in your rumination and your anxiousness and your worry and your dysregulation to the level that you and I had, there's no trying to retraining your brain, and like even hypnotherapy, it's actually almost like quite frustrating because when you can't do it, because
Yes.
it's not possible until you have at least a layer or a few layers of safety and capacity already there. Like
Yeah.
it really is quite difficult, and people make it sound easy. Well, just
Yeah. Just feel safe for the first time in
just
your life.
mindset. And I remember being like, I am like I would get angry. So much anger would come up around that because I'd be like, it's not that easy for me. Like I have no control. There's no control, like for
Yeah.
lack of a better
Well,
word.
there's no safety.
There's no
There's
safety.
never been safety in the
It's
system
just
ever.
it's in survival, and that amygdala is going crazy. It's like, dude, you can't try to control that. It doesn't want it. It needs to have that safety built there. And then that somatic work obviously does all those things, and we get more embodied and have that capacity. And then it's like all of a sudden that mindset stuff is like, it's pretty easy for me now. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
want to say easy because none of this work is like easy per se, but not a
Sneaky easy.
struggle,
Yeah.
It's not a
Yeah.
struggle. I'm just like,
It's
oh, that's a part coming up. That's interesting. Wow,
yes.
that
Yeah.
need right now. And that fear, that worry and fear around like, oh, what does this mean? And
So
why
there's like
can't
this.
I? The shame around like, why can't I? Because that was what it was like in any kind of mindset work that I did before this work was like the shame around why I couldn't do it because it's easy for everybody. So I would just shame myself.
Yeah.
It
Well, because
it
because
almost
that is control and that is safety. Is if I
yeah.
shame myself, well, then other people don't have to do it. And what you're talking about with the capacity is so interesting. Like as you're describing that, I couldn't have done that a year ago, right? Like I don't know what safety is.
Yeah.
How could I make this stop? But what happens is, and this happened for me in a one-on-one session, and this demonstrates what we're talking about the building capacity. So maybe when you will know it's time, or you know what that looks like. It's like I would feel a part coming up, but prior to that, it felt like this is me, this is my identity, this is my
Yeah.
activation or my anxiety. And then what happened is it came up and I was going into it and I went boom. And it's like I was holding it now. And I'm like
Yes.
caring for this part. And I'm going like, and it was so
Yes. It's
trippy.
outside of you now.
It was psychedelic because the only way I know how to
Yeah.
describe it, it was like quantum psychedelic because I am
Yes.
literally crying for the grief that this thing is holding. I'm feeling the activation and I'm soothing it and I'm laughing at the same time because I'm like, what the fuck is going
Because what
on?
happened, like, I'm just getting so many amazing images right now. What happened was that part of you detached itself from your identity, right?
Yeah.
And so you grieved. That's a piece of you that has tried so hard to keep you safe for so long. So you grieved, you had to say goodbye to
Mhm.
that part. And that is like, it's like saying goodbye to a relationship. I mean,
But does it really go anywhere though? Is it going somewhere or is it just like uncoupling the identity of it. Like I feel like
Well, I mean, what happens is alchemy, right? What happens is that piece transforms into what part of the more embodied, because what happened was you just allowed space for more authenticity and more embodiment to occur within you. And so that's the transformation. That energy is, yeah, and energy is never created or destroyed, right? So that energy, that old stuff moved out, and then this like the oldest, really the purest version of you, a part of that light was able to come through, right?
it's
So
our adult self coming online because it feels more, it
exactly.
doesn't feel like, and that's what happens. It's like now that we have capacity, these things that we're talking about, these sensations, these emotions, they're coming up, and instead of being like, oh my God, we go, oh my God. We move towards it instead of moving away from it. Because that's one thing I was asking my clients. I'm like, they're like, hey, this part is coming up. I'm like, what's your immediate reaction?
Oh,
Slow that down. And are you like going, fuck? Or are you being like, no? Or are you going like, yes? And it happens like, first you'll have the recoil and you notice that. The next
yeah.
time you may recoil and go into it. And another
Uh-huh.
time it's going to come up and you're going to go, oh, you're going to give it a
Right.
big hug. And
Or
that's
just
when,
like, hey, what's
yeah.
going
Well,
on?
here's another one
Uh,
too. Like, treat it like it's a little kid that's trying to like
yes,
scare you.
it is.
It's running in the room and it's not like it's going oh my rawr like that, right? And you go oh my God, you scared me, it's so good. that's
Right. Like,
that's
what
what
are
I
you
do now.
doing?
Yeah, yeah, hey,
What do you
what's
got
up,
to
dude?
say?
Yeah, you are welcome here and I'm
And
not
the
going anywhere.
and the energy is so sweet, you know?
Yeah,
Usually, like it's interesting because when people do inner child work before they like have the capacity and safety, there's a lot around. Like I have clients and even friends who've told me like whenever I connect with my inner child, I'm like angry or annoyed. I'm like annoyed with them. And I'm like, oh man, okay, cool. Yeah, let's do some more embodiment work, keep building capacity. It's okay. And
yeah.
then eventually that's going to shift. And when that shifts into that compassion, when I picture my inner child, man, I used to have like just uncontrollable tears around it, just
Oh yeah,
so much emotion. And now I'm like, oh, she's so sweet, like she just wants to be loved and she's still scared and all these things they're still there,
yeah.
but it does feel like it's not driving the bus for me anymore.
Yes, yeah,
You know?
that's a great way of saying it. And
Not
and
in the front seat.
you
It
know,
makes
remember me, my stuff with the once we can start to have compassion for those parts that we hated, we start to see that for other people. And it's like I'm like
Yeah.
cheering on the underdog now. I'm cheering on, people that used to trigger me because of their symptoms or what they got going on. You can see that little kid in them, and you're like, oh, I get it, dude. And it's like, this isn't about me, and you're not trying to be mean to me. Like you're in your stuff. You're a little.
Totally. Do you see your parents that way
Well,
now?
yeah, that's exactly what that's coming from. Where we had a
Exactly.
conversation where I'm like, okay, I had no contact with my parents for a year. I reached out to my mom like yesterday, right, for the first time in a long time. And it's because I realized the more I did this inner child work, the more I realized I could not judge myself. And if I'm judging myself or I'm judging other people, I might as well be for being in their trauma stuff, for not being perfect, then I might as well be doing that to me. And I'm not willing to do that anymore. And so it softens that. Because
Yeah,
really, whenever we're doing this, I mean, it's the four finger, it's projecting what we're really feeling about ourselves. And the more you get into
absolutely.
this work, the more you see that and you go to do that, and you're like, oh shit, like
And that happens simultaneously. That's why it's like when we focus on just our own healing work, we do end up very soon. Once that shift happens where we have compassion for ourselves, that starts to ripple out into having compassion for other people, you
yeah.
know? It definitely happens because
Well,
that
even
starts
in
happening.
sessions, how could we? That's what I realized is like I would watch people even in the group getting emotional, or even watching myself get emotional, and I just feel so uncomfortable. And now that's not, but nobody makes us feel
Totally.
anything. We feel what's unprocessed in us, And
Yeah.
so I just realized, like, oh, like the more compassion I can have for myself and for other people, the more I can show up and help more people and help myself and have more compassion. And this work is like it's like 5D healing. It's always like I love that I'm in the space now and practicing all the time because the clients I work with is me helping me.
Exactly.
It's me. And I had to learn not to
Totally.
laugh when they tell me stuff
I know.
because
Right.
I'm like, I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because I'm like, yeah, me too. Like that, I get it. Like I
You're
know
like,
exactly
dude,
what they're.
speaking my language, right? Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah, good start. Good start. So, do we want to pivot and talk about like the? I'll let you take it from here. How about that with the free stuff?
Oh, um, sure. Yeah. Um, so one thing that I like, I've been noticing this for a while, but um like what I'm noticing more now is that nobody really says it. Like
Okay.
we're all kind of dancing around it. And what I notice in like just other social media people that I follow that are doing, nervous system stuff is like everybody's posting about people post about different behaviors, I think because it captures the thing, captures the attention when
Like
somebody,
people pleasing and stuff like that.
yeah, like but what I don't hear people talking about, and it's literally probably the most significant part of this, is that we demonize the freeze so much, right? Because that's what leads to us being non-functional. And the societal programming about around being non-functional is that it's unacceptable,
Yeah.
right? Like you have to be function, you have to be producing. I mean, this is part of this big shift into this matriarchal paradigm that we're stepping into, this more feminine paradigm that we're stepping into. But what is most important, the shutdown is not the thing. Like that's more protection. It's
Yeah.
it's the activation that's there
It's underneath.
that's underneath that didn't get to get mobilized. And then, but what
Is
I
it
know,
like is it like that when let's pause right there with like
yeah,
activation underneath, it's built up so much that the system says, "Hey, I'm gonna put a clamp on this. If
yes,
I continue to spin at this rate, I'm gonna,
die.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, there you go.
if shutdown's there, then death is being sensed, in some capacity, right?
Damn,
Because
yeah,
because death doesn't, I mean, freeze doesn't come on. I mean, it has to be too much, too fast for too long.
yeah, there you go.
For chronic freeze to, I don't want to say freeze because freeze is technically what happens in the moment where there's a actual like life-threatening thing, but let's say chronic shutdown.
Chronic shutdown, yeah.
Chronic shutdown like doesn't happen or doesn't become chronic. And by the way, and this makes me feel sad again for my little inner child, but it has to be that has to be happening for a long time
To
before
go into collapse.
to go into chronic collapse and chronic shutdown and chronic symptoms. What we're talking about is like when that autoimmune and syndrome stuff really takes hold. That's gas and brake have been on for a long time. And that's when the chronic like shutdown stuff starts to happen, right?
So we
Now,
know in that situation, if someone's coming to us and they're collapsed, we know there's likely a component of early childhood, early developmental trauma that's been simmering under the
it
surface.
doesn't have to be. There could have been some little things and then a big shock trauma. There could have been, right? There could have been a big car accident. There could have been one particular abusive thing that led to shutdown. But usually, if one event does that much, like quote unquote, damage, for lack of a better word, there was already some stuff happening. I mean, we're in the Western world, so most of us are working through complex
Well,
trauma,
that could even be that
complex.
ongoing threat could just be chronic stress and answering emails and
Well, so that's
notifications going
so
on.
that's what I'm getting to. So like when we talk about just our daily habits and our daily patterns, people come to me like, how do I move freeze? How do I get out of shutdown? How do I move the fatigue? And as I start listening to their day, like, well, tell me what you did that, they'll, for example, somebody might say, oh, I went into freeze. I went into shutdown. I couldn't move for 3 days. Okay. So what happened before that? What were you
Right.
doing? Oh, I felt amazing. I went on a 10-mile hike and then then I had this big fight with my boyfriend. But then I went to a sound bath and I'm like you blew your system out. Like that is so much, right? So we're
Mhm.
dealing with people who already have a small amount of capacity. And
Mhm.
what I think is the misconception is that when I have energy, I have to do everything I can.
Yeah.
Because when will that collapse happen again? And most of the time, 9 times out of 10, we can actually avoid that shutdown by just slowing down the
Because there's no
things.
interoception. There's
There's
no
no,
ability to say,
exactly.
oh, like what I think we were
This
talking
might be too
about.
much,
Yeah,
right?
it's like yesterday I was getting tired and I was telling myself, do I want to go like do a walk or something like that? And I was like, no, I think I really just need to like contain and feel my body for a minute. And it's like all I
Exactly.
needed was that 20 minutes of sitting and pausing and do it because then I started yawning. And so that's the thing is if we can build this awareness, now we
Yeah.
sense the need to pause because, and we don't have that because likely we were constantly performing and overriding and abandoning
That's it.
ourselves to
The
stay in connection with
performing.
someone else.
Yeah. The performing and the fawning and the overriding, you know? And
It's conditioning.
it's conditioning but it's just so interesting. It's been really interesting for me to like notice and kind of unpack how much everyone's so focused on that shutdown. And it's like, dude, you will avoid the shutdown if you just shift a couple things in your life
Oh
most of
yeah.
the time, you know?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there's no capacity, there's no safety. I mean, that's part of the dysregulation, but we don't treat the shutdown, you know? I mean, we do indirectly, but if we go to like, what's that other thing? What's that look like? You
Mm.
know? With me and my girlfriends recently, just the deeper layers of that fawn expression for women is just so heavy. So for a lot of women, it's like, oh, well, I don't really know what was happening. I don't really know what was happening. And as we get deeper into conversation, oh, well, I saw my in-laws this weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, really? So tell me about that.
Interesting.
Well, it's always so uncomfortable for me. And I feel like I can't be myself. And da 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 da. Da. And then they say, oh, I had my shutdown happened the next day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is
Because
really
you left
important.
yourself. You left yourself to.
Yourself and you overrode, but you overrode for an extended period of time. So just that awareness, right? Like, okay, so what do we think is the max of the capacity that you might have in an interaction like that? 1 hour, 30 minutes? Do you need to not have contact with them for a
Yeah.
period of time
Yeah.
to see, to build, right? And then from there, like a lot happens, you
Oh yeah.
know? A
Oh yeah.
lot happens because that's actually working with the freeze. Because the freeze makes us dissociated. It's the thing that makes us disconnected from that authenticity, from what's really happening.
Hmm.
So when we go with that awareness is actually moving the freeze, also
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
little bits
And
of freeze.
I see the same thing with men and myself and the guys that I work with, where you've got high performing athletes, special operators in the military, and what they have done is they have blown themselves out by saying, I can't cry, I can't rest, I can't do this, and you can't do that shit in war. So we understand,
Sure.
but it's recognizing these patterns that, and I would say there's likely a lot of the things that we're talking about. There's likely some early developmental trauma. There's likely conditioning that says I can't stop, I can't cry, I gotta hold it in. And so then what happens is we start to shut down. And so as men, we want to be the provider. We want to do. We want to be active if that's what we've done. And so we don't know how to rest, and we just shame ourselves and beat
Yeah,
ourselves up. And what do? We try to fix it with drugs and alcohol or supplements if it wasn't a
exactly.
healthy thing or working out. And it's like it's just what you said. It's slowing the stuff way down so that we can see these patterns. And like we were talking about earlier, it's like I don't know all the time that it's I've done too much, but it's I've left my body so much and abandoned my needs because I don't know how to listen, and my conditioning says I shouldn't do that.
Exactly.
I'm boxed in to this like This reminds me of what we were talking earlier, walking on eggshells,
Yeah.
making myself small. My world is getting so small because
Yeah.
this is all I got, you know?
Yeah.
And when
Yeah.
we can start to express ourselves and the way that we want to, and rest when we need to, and I mean, that's a journey and that's a lot.
It's
That's
a journey. I mean, look, this does take, again, this is why those basics are so important. This
yeah,
is why the foundation and the building safety, building capacity is so important because we won't even have those awarenesses. We won't even be able to slow down, right? If we're really, really stuck in that survival. And so it's just these titrating these little pieces. I mean, the people that I see, my clients that can really make that shift quickly, they've been seeing me for a while. They have some capacity built up, right? And that's huge for them. But
yeah,
there are newer people that I bring the awareness to, and it's like, okay, this is going to take some time to shift. Like, don't expect this pattern to just shift tomorrow,
yeah,
right? Or even
yeah.
this week. It's like just start to notice, right? Because you're going to overshoot this and then you're going to undershoot it a million times before you really can get tuned into what, again, that's somatic intuition,
hmm
which is my favorite term. Um, like until that really comes online, and that's really, really, it's fine. It's almost like it's precise, right? It's like becomes really precise.
I like that you said building capacity as a foundation because I think that's something. I was having a conversation with someone this morning who was reaching out to me, and they're like, "Hey, what do you know about EMDR?" And like, have you done that? I've done it. I started with it. If I could go back and do it again, I would build capacity first. Not to say that it's not a solid modality. I think it really needs. I think any of this work. I think trauma
Anything,
needs
anything.
capacity. And what we
Yeah.
mean by that is you got to be able to sit in the fire with your symptoms and know that they're not going to hurt you. And
Yeah.
that's going back to the conversation that we started with. And until then, you need to learn to feel your butt in the chair and be in your environment without, being somewhere else. And it
Being able
seems
to
so simple.
feel
You
all
be
the
able to
things that
feel.
are coming up without shaming them or trying to push them away or getting, like you got to be able to just be with them and feel them through to their completion or through that experience,
Yeah.
you know?
You come into this work with that survival energy of I'm gonna fix it and I'm gonna get it done now. And like I see how EMDR can be like an excavation of stuff like looked at like that. Like that's not how it works. This is a lifestyle. And you better
Yeah.
yeah, it's like eating good food. And you if you can just show up every week or every other week and do your work and rest and integrate and focus on other things.
Yeah.
This a lot of times I got so burnt out because I was taking that survival energy into this and being like, am I going to fix it now? Am I going to fix it now? And if I didn't
Yeah.
fix it, I'm going to shame myself and beat myself up. And it's like, nah, dude, it's just another week, another session, another day. And when you allow it and you quit trying to control it, then it,
Control
it,
it.
it kind
Yeah.
of boom, it can blow open. You can have those big moments, but you don't want to have those big moments all the time. It's
Right.
your
Exactly.
system. That's what I learned recently. Your nervous system is your map. You don't have to control or figure it out. You just got to show up and observe and be with what is and what needs to come up is going to come up.
Yeah, 100%. I think the people that can do those modalities, like even plant medicine, especially plant medicine actually, um, that can do those modalities and actually, not have a big setback or not or have a lot happen, right? And experience a lot. They already may have a better foundation, right? They may have had a little bit better attachment. They may have had, I mean, everybody's so different. But that's why it's like going into this work, building safety and building capacity is so important because you don't know often. I mean, if you've got a syndrome and you've got shut down and you got autoimmune, that's a clear sign that you don't have a lot of capacity, right?
Yeah,
Or
that's
if you've got complex PTSD or something like that, then okay, you're working with small capacity. But oftentimes people don't know. And they go into something like even a sound bath. I worked at an addictions treatment center for 2 years before I came out on my own. And these guys couldn't sit through a sound bath. like often they were having like anxiety attacks and stuff.
Global high, right?
What?
That's a global high, and global high, like I thought, because of my global high, which means I'm very sympathetic, I thought my capacity was huge, but it was razor thin.
Exactly.
And
Well,
so I'm constantly
your
override.
ability to override was huge,
I mean, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
right? Your
yeah,
capacity was really same with me.
yeah,
I could fake it. Oh my God, I was the best faker. But
yeah.
then once I started realizing like this, oh, this is like I'm just overriding. And then I'm eventually that catches up. Eventually we have some outburst that's unwarranted, or we have a shutdown, or we have, right, some behaviors. It catches up, right?
Well,
The
the fatigue comes out
with
later. Like
anger
I heard you say that the fatigue comes out later. It seems like
it comes later.
sympathetic is the beginning.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then we either, I think there's a couple scenarios of fatigue, right? Where
Totally.
we come out of the sympathetic and we feel how much we've been running on that treadmill our whole life.
Dude.
Or
Yeah.
we are processing a ton of stuff and that's fatiguing. And we can also
Right.
be in a collapse. You
Exactly.
know what I mean?
Look, we could be in a healing process of
Right.
something, right? And that's not really necessarily collapse. That's just your body's got to go. But that's why it's like fine tuning that somatic intuition, because we know, like we know, oh, this is like, and again, we might miss it sometimes. Like if I'm feeling really tired one day, I might be like, what's happening right now? It's, oh, okay. I think this is just me like moving through something that I moved
Yeah.
through, whatever it is. But
Is it
um,
still freeze if it's fatigue from processing or moving through a healing phase?
nah, I wouldn't call
I
it that.
kind of say no to that. And the difference
I
I
wouldn't
know
call it that.
is, does the fatigue come with this like apathy and like I don't want to do anything. So it's like I'm afraid to move, like kind of situation. Like I'm in the mud is what I would call that. That's also what it feels like when you're processing in the mud, um, versus like with the apathy stuff. Like I don't want to do anything today.
Yeah.
I want to hide, kind of thing.
For me, exactly. For me, the internal conversation is different.
That makes
It's
sense.
shut down. It's kind of like maybe what I don't really do this much anymore in any scenario, but like, what's wrong kind of
Yeah,
thing.
that's what we did that. But me and you were talking yesterday, and that's a big shift for us
Yeah.
because let's say 6 months ago, we would be trying to figure everything out together.
I mean,
You're like, oh, I've dealt with this for a couple days. What do you think this is? And we're both like, what do you get when that's what we would say. What do you get when you hear this? Maybe it was 8 months ago, but like, we've only known each other for a year, so it had to be 6 months ago. That would be in like November, December. I felt like we did
feel
that.
like I was already kind of able to know for the most part, but yeah, I mean, I think that it just the conversation around I tend to not outsource that much. I
I
feel like
stopped doing that too. I care less and less about somebody telling me what to do. And that's like yesterday.
part of me feels like, yeah, part of me would feel like, man, do I need to connect more? But I just don't really share much.
Hmm.
If I'm I just wait. I'm like, oh, okay, just wait it out. Something's happening. For me, it's like if it's shut down or if it's healing, it's the same medicine to me. It's just like, oh, my body, it doesn't change what I do necessarily.
Yeah.
If it's if I can pinpoint maybe what has happened or what has occurred, and I'm like in some of that lower energy stuff, um, yeah, I'm just kind of like, oh, where can I give myself space today? Like, what do I need to do for myself today?
Yeah.
And then
A
it's like,
question
oh,
that I've been using is like with I think it's Tara Brock, it's like the rain thing, and she's like, recognize where's it at in your body. And the question is, if you knew this was going to shift and go away eventually, because I think that's a big fear that we have is that this is never going to go away and something's wrong with me. If you can trust that this is going to go away tomorrow, how can you meet, what would you do differently? And so instead of trying to fix it and figure it out. You would attune to it. You'd be like, oh
Yeah.
damn, dude, you're tired. Like, let's rest. You know,
Yeah.
instead of like
And
work.
I don't have any issues with rest anymore, especially now that I know I'm a projector. I'm just like, oh, I need rest. Cool. After every session, I'm out on my grass, I'm on my couch, I'm just closing my eyes, I'm feeling into what's happening. Like, and that gives me, for projectors, like it definitely gives us more energy the more we rest.
Yeah.
Like that's how we build energy. So the human design stuff has actually been huge for me.
That's where I'm different than you too. Now, I need to I need little pauses to connect so that I'm with you on that. Like I've even thought recently, like, can I do like 45 to 50 minutes of work and then take 10 to 15 minutes to just lay on the floor? And
Yeah.
I also need to be active like crazy. And when I say active, I mean like walking. Um, I probably get in 15,000 steps a day in the sun, try to do barefoot as much as I can. I work out 3 times a week, but I'm doing qigong and I'm doing Feldenkrais and I started doing yoga again. And it's just like, how can I work these smaller movements, not like exhausting myself, but like it builds me up.
Interesting.
And then
Yeah.
I need a day
Yeah.
or two to rest
I
too.
can't. It's interesting because I've been working out with a trainer again. So I stopped all that a few years ago, try to heal my adrenals and my hormones and stuff. And just recently I was like, I have a buddy that's a trainer and I'm like, hey, would you work with my capacity? Because like, I would love to do just a 30 minute. He wouldn't do a 30 minute, but we're doing 45. And he's like 30 minutes. I'm like, no, I'm telling you, like that's all I need. And so, but anyway, we do 45, and I'm like, okay, we have to you're gonna work with me probably differently than you do anybody else because I just have to go really, really slow. I have to be paying attention to my breath. My heart rate can't go up too much. And man, we overshot it a little bit on Friday. And what I mean by overshooting it, I mean we did like I wish I could give you an example, or I don't know the names of like the things, but like it's very little. It's very little, like some squats with some weights, bicep curls. We did a little bit of this, but everything's slow. There's not like, we only did 30 minutes actually on Friday. Paying attention to my heart rate, breaks between every single round, right? Break, water, sit, not like how most people work out. And we overshot it. Like I didn't sleep, I haven't slept well since then.
Since then.
Since then, like last night and the night before, I didn't get good sleep. Over the weekend was actually okay. But I know that it's from that because I know that my cortisol shut up. It's also like if I'm on screens more than usual, that can do it. But if I get too much movement, my joints will start, my cortisol shoots up.
Cortisol, yeah.
Yeah, because like I get really excited usually when I get that adrenalized feeling. And what I noticed, like with him, and we teased this out together. I love him for this. But like when I meet him, I get so excited at the interaction, which is like a good thing, right?
Yeah,
But
social
I get
engagement.
so like, oh my God.
You mean like when you call me? We burned each other out yesterday, talk.
Dude, and I'm like, yeah, and then I'm crashing. If I'm crashing by the afternoon, I know, oh, it was too much. Like, just be in your own body. It's okay.
Well, and that's what I hear though, is that you really know your own body. I mean, and that's
Yeah.
what I do with my clients because I'm health coaching still, less now, but it's like, let's find a workout that can support your body, that's not too much, that doesn't cause these things, and to be able to do what you just described of this is how much I need, this is where my heart rate needs to be. That's just, I mean, that's knowing your body and attuning to yourself, and you'll be able to just like we stretch ourselves in therapy, you stretched yourself this time. And does that mean it's bad? No, that means you did too
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. I'm
That's
like, oh,
feedback.
that's
That's not
interesting.
failure.
Yeah, exactly. I'm
The
like,
next time you go back, just like if we were in a one-on-one session in therapy, we would say, all right, maybe we're going to resource more this time. We're going to slowly introduce you back in because there may be some fear of those symptoms coming back. So let's work with that. And it's like the more, dude, you can really take when you have the nervous system lens, it really, because now I'm listening to my body, I'm attuning to myself, I'm doing what I need, I'm working within my capacity, I'm containing if I need to, I'm resourcing. And it's like, man, the gym becomes a nervous system playground because now it's like if I got some anger going, I'm going to the gym after this. And I got some anger from some stuff yesterday. And I'm like, can't wait because I can feel it coming up and I can just like get into that. I mean, ah! I can use the voice. I can feel my feet in the ground. I can, instead of, I'm just doing this shit,
Right.
competing with this person or I'm whatever. It's like, no, I'm competing with me in the moment. And the
Yeah.
competing is to stay with myself and it's like, that's long-term healthy exercise is listening to our body, working with the activation and even the fatigue if it's there. And if there's fatigue and I'm going into a workout where I'm going to move way slower, I'm going to drop the weights down more. I'm going to be talking to myself the whole time. Where I used to go, I'm going to get this hard workout and you're going to shut the fuck up and we're going to get a bunch of adrenaline going. And now it's like, nah, we're going to do this together. This is going to be safe. It's going to be good. Talk to me. Let me know how
Yeah.
you're feeling. And then that's constant capacity building. And that's what we want.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I noticed it's interesting the workout thing. I mean, I can go for a walk, I could probably do like I would love to do some yin. I did some qigong last week.
Love it.
But for women, it's like, because we're on that 30 or 28 to 30-ish day cycle, and you guys are on like your energy technically rebuilds every 24 hours. Like you're on a 24-hour cycle. Ours is not. So it's like for the ladies that are listening to this podcast,
Tell me more about that.
I do not work out during my luteal
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and
Okay.
my menstrual
So,
phases.
so you're saying like help me understand the energy. I know on the luteal phase it's more sensitive. You need carbohydrates and you got to change the way you eat and move and
So
all that
like
stuff. What's the energy?
our cycles, like you restore, you rebuild, we restore 24 hours. Right? You have phases in that 24-hour cycle where you might need more rest, you have more energy, you need to, right? Like all the things, socially engaged, like that all happens in a 24. For us, it's a 28 to 31, 32 day
Wow.
cycle. So like we have weeks or a week of production, right? Right, like ovulation phase and the what's leading up to the ovulation phase, the uh, ovulation and hold on. Anyway, those two phases are when we're most productive. For you, you're productive, you have a phase of production every day, right? From like 11 to 3 probably. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's the middle of the day. You
Yeah.
can produce. We can only produce those 2 weeks.
Mine's probably like
Not
10
even
to
two
3,
weeks.
10 to 4.
Those other 2 weeks, we feel like you feel when you're at the end of your day. And we feel like that all day for two
Mhm.
weeks in those two cycles.
And that's where you guys can I used to do this in my health coaching with women, especially who had like PCOS and endometriosis. And we would do more fasting that first week of their cycle and lower carb. And then from there, it's like slowly increasing to where you hit the luteal and then you're blasting carbs,
Right.
basically.
Right.
But what happens with women is they shame themselves of like because we have this diet culture that says carbs are bad, and so my
Oh
body
man,
starts
yeah.
to crave my body, my wife's body starts to crave carbohydrates, and they're saying I can't have those. And then what does that do to your cycle? What does that do to your mood and your hormones?
Oh my God, it was the follicular, it's the follicular phase.
Yeah,
That's another when our energy is starting to build to production
yeah.
after the
So
menstrual.
if you guys neglect these these needs from your body of give me more carbs, give me
You're
more.
overriding.
And instead, that's what happened with
Overriding.
women in the keto world was like, I'm going to eat like a man. Like I've got a book called Eat
Dude, you
Fast, Fast, Work
cannot.
Out. Like,
Yeah,
and it's
dude.
like that's why your hair's falling out. That's why you're
Exactly.
having your cycle. That's why
100%.
you're gaining weight. And it's like, it's not that you're doing keto wrong. You're doing keto like a man. And
Exactly.
I'd even say,
I eat potatoes every single morning. I eat potatoes,
yeah,
either sweet or regular potatoes, or a winter squash if it's winter. I get what's local,
yeah.
right? And then a couple of eggs or a little bit of beef sausage every single morning. And then, sometimes I'll eat, another.
Because if you don't do that, your cortisol and adrenaline's going to go up. And like the way that I
Yeah, I
do
do
that,
not feel good. And most people, here's the thing, most people like that feeling of adrenaline and cortisol. They
because
don't
they're, and this
even
is
know what
Irene
it's
said this,
like to not have that
because they're in a functional freeze.
because they're in functional freeze and because of the societal programming. This is really global high,
This is
right?
like,
Global, global. This is the societal global high because it's like everyone is programmed to believe that we should be producing, functioning every single day the same way, and that is not the way. That is not the way.
and when you can listen to your body and wake up and go, what do I need? And give it what it needs instead of not what do I think I need? What do I feel that I need? And like what I can do is I can go, today I'm feeling a little low energy. I'm gonna just have meat and fat or protein and fat at breakfast. But if I did that again at lunch, like I know that if I do that at lunchtime, I gotta eat a shit ton of carbs. Because
Why do you
I
do
have to,
that if you're low energy?
if I'm low energy, it can give me like a little bit more,
A
a little
boost.
boost. And but if I did that multiple days in a row, or if I
But
equally if I
why are you trying to fix the low energy? That would be my
I mean,
question.
it just feels good. I'm not trying to fix it. It's just
Right.
like today I did that. It's like, you know what? I went to grab a mango and I was like, I don't want
Oh,
that.
you don't like that. There you go. Okay. So
Yeah. I
that's
was
the
like, it's more I don't not I'm
I
trying to
don't want
control
it.
it. I don't
Yeah.
want it. Yeah.
You're like, I don't
I
want
went and cut up because I got so many peaches and mangoes right now
uh-huh.
and watermelon and I was like, ugh, I just don't, it just feels better to not have that today. And if I didn't load up on carbs later, I would be snacking at dinner time
Yeah.
because now my hormone,
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, if I don't eat carbs in the morning, I'm too hungry in the evening. So I try not to eat past 4 or 5 actually.
yeah.
And then I eat, and for women, especially, we should eat in the first, like at least the first hour that we're awake. I try to eat in the first 30 minutes I'm awake,
Hmm.
and I eat the biggest meal of the day, either breakfast or lunch. Like yesterday, I had a massive ribeye
Nice.
with, I've been making this gazpacho, this like tomato, basically, I'm just drinking my salad.
Well,
It's really good. It's a lot of tomato and cucumbers and garlic and
that's
awesome.
the season right now.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, all the local stuff. And I wasn't hungry for the rest of the night. And around 7, I had a little snack. So I was like, I don't want to be too hungry when I go to bed. But I mean, it's just, that's really how we should be eating.
And it feels so good for your sleep. Like I know if I eat later, it's just like sitting on my stomach and it didn't have to
It's the
come to
perfect
digest.
balance. It's the perfect balance because if you don't eat enough during the day, that will spike cortisol. And I don't sleep. My sleep is better if I've eaten too much than if I've not eaten enough for me.
Oh yeah, and I like to, like you said, backload. I like to have biggest meal, and something I've been doing a little bit differently too. I would definitely agree with you on the eat 30 minutes to an hour after waking up for hormones. And I've been, and the same thing with this morning, like not eating carbs. I give myself, I just eat when I'm hungry, and sometimes that'll be 10. It's been with the heat, I guess. It's like I'll go for a walk in the morning. I just don't want to eat, so I'm just drinking water and I've even had some fasting days where like I won't eat until lunchtime, let's say, or 10 o'clock. I didn't eat till 10 today. Just feels good. And it's
Yeah.
all about, is it I could plan out all this shit and like try to make it a routine, but it's like, nah, I'm just listening to what's happening and feeling into the day. And no matter what it is, if I'm doing that, I think that's what we're talking about. That's what feels good. It's like
Yeah,
it's so hard to say this is how I do things, and it's like it kind of changes all the time, and I'm
totally. Yeah, I did have a morning the other day that I didn't want the potatoes, and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." And so I switched it up. Yeah, I mean it,
and used to I would be freaking out. What does that mean? I didn't have my potatoes this morning. Like, bro, like no, just listen to your body. You don't have to gaslight yourself or think the worst possible thing. But we also controlled everything. And so that's deconditioning. It's like I don't have to control myself. I can give myself permission to do what feels good in the moment.
Well, we have more space, when you have more regulation, you have more space to just be. You don't have to.
Oh, here's one. So I heard this another day that like it really made me cry so much, and it's talking about the divided mind. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
So the divided mind is I'm trying to make a decision, okay? And I'm divided because I'm trying to make the right decision.
This
And
is a good segue into what I was going to talk about next.
perfect. So it's like that's the problem. There is no such thing as the right decision, and it makes so much sense in an environment that's not safe growing up. Because if I don't make the right decision, what happens? My
Bad.
ass is on the line, right?
Totally.
So it's like when I realize that, I'm like, oh my God, I'm trying to make the perfect decision so I avoid, and I went down this whole rabbit hole of self-inquiry. I'm trying to make the perfect decision so I avoid being punished because if I'm being punished, that means I'm bad. And that's like the worst, that's like my core thing that I'm working with right now of this just like control, 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 perfect, perfect, perfect.
And the irony of it is there's never a wrong decision.
Right. Can we, why don't you?
Never a wrong decision. Literally, we make decisions based on where we are in our evolutionary process in that moment.
And let yourself fail and
Not bad.
you know what? I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
forgive. Like, I'll let me try again. That's what life is about.
exactly.
Like, failure is awesome because it's feedback. It's like, man, getting feedback from Irene in the beginning of the SPT was so fucking scary because I'm like, oh my God, I suck so bad. But now, in the last thing that we did, I've loved getting feedback because I'm like, oh yeah, I see that, that, and that, and I can see that in my videos, and like now I can do better. So that's like I can learn, and so the more
Yeah.
we can show ourselves,
Well,
you
we
don't
don't
have to be
make it
perfect.
about us being bad anymore. That's uncoupled from your psyche.
Yeah,
Right? The let me give you constructive criticism coupled with that means I'm bad. Like that's no longer what that means for you. It just means like, oh, you know.
yeah.
But yeah, when we talk about intuitive development, um, receiving these messages, knowing what your decision is, right? I mean, like that's what I work with my clients for the most part.
That's how you heal yourself.
It's just what does it feel? What does your yes feel like? And when I'm working with women, I'm like, think about when you know it's a yes and
Hell yes or no. That's what.
sit with that. Sit with the yes. Like, because it's just, we've been talking about sitting with the discomfort, sitting with the discomfort. It's just as important to sitting with the comfort.
Yeah, dude.
Huh?
Yes, yes. Like,
We don't know what the fuck's the goal here, right? If all we
what's
know,
good?
we're just looking for the right, is that's where the resourcing comes in. That's why it's so important. Feel your resource.
Yeah,
Feel when you're resource, when you're in that contained sense. It's like, what is the feeling? Oh, my heart feels expanded. Like
yeah.
that's what does your yes feel like,
Yeah. We've
And I've
had so many
also
no's. We're so used to looking for the worst thing. Like that's why I love like glimpsing, I believe it's called. So or I think yeah. So you're like glimpsing over to what's good. Like instead of going like, oh man, it sucks outside, it's hot and the world's ending. It's like, but like this tree
oh
is
yeah.
dope.
Oh God, that
This
whole
tree
thing.
is dope. This
Yeah,
air feels
exactly.
good,
Here's
you
the
know?
thing. I mean, look, the world is ending and all catastrophe is happening based on our politics. Like that is literally just a person's perception and what
That's
they're.
created, manufactured for you to be stressed out and controlled.
Yeah. Because for a lot of us, that it's the opposite thing. As we were talking about yesterday. It's like my kid is enrolled in this blindfold vision class. Like, and two things to that. The first is this is part of the practice in the very beginning for these kids, right? Which I've already been working on with my kids. So I think it's like a beautiful,
Transition.
extension to the work that I'm already doing. Is what is that when you nail it, when you got it right? Like, what does that feel like? Just
Oh, it's a
notice.
hell yes. It's a hell yes.
Yeah, it feels different, and I've already been talking to my daughter about that as she's going into seventh grade. It's like, when you're making big decisions, or you're thinking about boys, right? Or you're having things come up with your friends and stuff, like, your yes, because she's a manifesting generator too. So I've been trying to, I don't say it in these words to her, but it's like there is a holy hell yeah. Actually, I do say those words, but her sacral yes. She doesn't know
Yeah.
what sacral yes is, right? But she knows, oh, because the kids get it because they've not been as programmed as us, right?
Yeah.
So, like, she's like, I mean, I saw her face go, like, she got it, right?
Yeah,
Like,
that's
oh,
awesome.
I know what my yes. You might not always know when it's a no, but you know when it's a yes. Keep feeling your yeses. And then that is how you are directed and where you go in life. Always. That's it, right? So I'm approaching this blindfold vision, and that's like the first step. Is like they're blindfolded, these kids are blindfolded. This is it for people who are listening that don't have any idea what we're talking about, is that kids can be trained to see blindfolded. And it's a phenomenon that's been happening. There's trainings that are going on. It's 100% success rate with this one particular practitioner. Maybe we can put her in the show notes. Dr. Edith Ubuntu,
Writing it down.
Ubantu. Um, anyway, um, the other thing to this is like we who are on this, like, you know, for lack of a better term, like spiritual awakening, uh,
Ascension.
extension, yeah, ascension, a conscious, consciousness, basically journey, like the shit that is happening in the world right now,
So
and what
crazy.
we are like, what are we are realizing, what we are capable of as humans,
And you want to pay attention to politics, bro?
fucking mind blowing. Like, we're like, holy crap, this is ascension. Like, we are in a 5D consciousness, 100%. And the reason why I know that is because when I go back into 3D, when I have to, I'm like, this is like, what is everybody like? I have, other parents of my kids' friends and stuff that are in that world, and they're just like, they're freaking out, and there's the world and this and there's, and I'm just like, oh, you're in a different world than me. Like, you're in
Yeah.
a different timeline. Like, the consciousness is so totally different. So it's really interesting because, man, I don't think it's doomsday at all. I think
No,
we've
no,
just
it's
we've
it's
just
awesome.
we've just fucking entered into like part of what it means to feel bliss.
It's like
And
one of the greatest times to be alive, you know?
oh my God, 100%. Like, no wonder I came back for this shit, you
Well,
know?
I went through that. Like, I was 3D just a couple of months ago, I felt like. And just,
Yes, you were, dude,
what
you're
did I
no
say to you? Like, when Trump won, I was like, I said, I have faith in
I've
humanity.
restored my faith in humanity. And I was like,
Damn,
okay.
dude.
I
Yeah.
was like, that, then they did exactly what they wanted to do.
Well, and I think it's like you look at the globalists and you look at the deep state and the cabal and it looks like to me that like that is more on the left and that's the way it's pushed. But the deeper you go into it, it's both sides pulling extremes and shifting culture is more of what it
Well,
is.
they just watch. They watch for who's losing faith, and then they throw that party the bone, so that they restore faith. Which is
Right.
always a really interesting way that you said that, because I was
So,
like,
so we're going to bring up
ah,
the Epstein files. We're going to do all this.
right.
We're going to get rid of the corruption. We're going to clean
I
up the
mean,
swamp.
Trump was the perfect person for them to put into place
Yeah. And then
because
they
too many
say that
people were
doesn't
waking
exist.
up. Yeah. But
And
what's
now it's like,
interesting
where's this?
now is that the left is having the exact conversations that the right was having 4 years ago. Right? Like, we went on this trip and over spring break, and my kids invited two of their friends, and their parents came, and some of the conversations they were having, I just sat back and listened. But they were they were like, I mean, I've never been considered a conspiracy theorist, but like now I'm really questioning 9/11, and I'm questioning, all these things. And I'm like, and these are left people. So I'm
But
like,
so it's all
this
great
is really
awakening, though.
interesting, right? But the problem is they think Trump is the problem. It's like, well, yeah, but he's not he's just a person put there to like speed up whatever this is,
But
right?
do you
For
not
half
think
this,
that it's still both sides are? I really like what you're talking about, this ping ponging, but it's really just. it's still awakening. It's still getting different parties
Exactly.
to wake up.
If all this didn't happen, we all wouldn't have woken the fuck up the way we did, right?
Yeah,
All this had to happen for us to be doing what we're doing,
yeah.
and more people will wake up and some won't, right? But the whole thing is like what I said to them on the boat was like they're like, oh, Trump this and Trump that. I'm like, do you guys understand that that wouldn't be happening unless what happened over the last 4 years, like they set it up perfectly. Like
Yeah,
when you see it from this bird's eye view, you're like, oh man, that was brilliant. It was brilliant for them to do all of
really
this
good. Yeah.
so that then they could swing into this because this actually is pushing us more into that AI and surveillance and all that really fast. And then they'll go back the other way again,
Well, it's like Seth Lyon, Irene's husband, like his book. It's on Medium. It's called the Multiverse, I believe. That's what blew my head open, and it's basically, and this is gonna blow a lot of people's heads off. It's like there's a cabal I don't know, incarnated, but came to this planet whenever Atlantis was around, where they were trying to make this tree of life that's gonna help life on the planet evolve. And this cabal of 12 evil, extremely evolved, intelligent species showed up, and these Atlantean people were basically like, this is what God wants, kind of Buddhist. It's light in the dark. We're just going to let it be here. And this cabal is what has infiltrated itself into our politics, into our entertainment, into everything that we do. And
Our
it's being,
food, our water, our everything.
and them keeping us stressed keeps us in our trauma, keeps us out of our higher brain and thinking, and so we're just chasing whatever they're puppeting, and then they put these scenes
Puppet.
of like right or left, and it becomes like I'm a Duke basketball fan, and we have it's like Duke and Carolina. That's what it feels like. These rivalries, and it's like
Exactly.
the people in the middle. We really kind of want the same things, but we've been fed into these algorithms of these puppets, and they're just doing this shit.
Yeah.
And so
Exactly.
I got really excited with Trump coming in, and it's like, oh, we're gonna up in the deep state, and we're gonna get the cabal, and it's like, not really. Like now, it's like,
The
here's the Epstein
future.
files, but like now they don't exist. Don't think about them. Like what? Because that exposes it all, and we can't do that. You know?
No. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a whole circus in and of itself as well. Like, why do we need? Why do we to me, like we talked about this yesterday. Like that is a theater. The
Yeah,
whole Epstein files thing, that's just theater. Like that happened, and probably every single person that's I mean, dare I say every person, I don't know that that's true, but a lot of people are on that list,
right.
right? But to me, it's not about the list. I could give two shits about the list, right? It's like, oh, they're like, yeah, that is happening. That's been happening. That's been happening for thousands of years, probably.
Yeah.
That's how they infiltrate our psyche. That's how they expand that
So if
consciousness,
you can
that
see that,
darkness.
you can see
You
the
don't care about
you
like
step out.
to get
Yeah.
all wrapped up and like, oh, they're gonna do it. They're not gonna do it. Da, 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 da. That's just like
Yeah,
feeding the
that's
energy
taking you away from your
to
work.
it. Yeah. Like
And then you're relying on
energy
debt
suck.
to take care of us. And it's really like, nah, step out. You can laugh at it. It's like, oh yeah, these they're lying to us. They
Yeah.
know that we know. We know that they know. We know that
Mm.
they know that we know, and we're still playing this fucking game and trust
Yeah.
that somebody's gonna save me. Nah, put your head down, do your work, and love yourself and love the people around you and change your community.
Yeah. Exactly. It's all voluntarism is what the term is for what is happening now, which is like us stepping outside of that
But it
system.
is so smart and orchestrated, and
Yeah.
it takes a lot. I think Seth's book is what really cracked my
Yeah.
dome, and then the stuff you were telling me about started making sense. I was like, oh, because I found myself getting into one side or
You.
the other and getting mad. I would be in traffic, and somebody in a Prius would cut me off, and I'd be like, "Fucking liberal," And I'm like, "Is that how I want to be? Is that who I want to be?" Is like
Yeah.
hating someone. And I'm like, nah, dude, I love everybody. I'm trying to be more accepting of myself and other people. and I can't be paying attention to this politic
The
bullshit.
media makes us hate each other. It's
Hate each other.
awful. It's crazy. I
It
know.
is crazy.
I
Most
was in it
people are
too a
going
few
to get.
years ago. Yeah, I was in it too a few years ago. It's getting so frustrated at my kid's school for this. I mean, and it's just like, hey
How dare
man,
they? I remember those conversations.
they're
How
great at
dare
that.
they say this? You
They're
know?
great at everything. And I don't think that they should be sending emails for the parents to encourage their children to go to Pride.
Or to get on hormone blockers. That's a big problem.
Well, I don't think they encourage that at the school, but I don't know because I don't have kids that have that
Oh,
issue.
well, like the law that just said, they made it to where if parents, and correct me if I'm wrong, if parents asked about, like, if a kid wanted gender care or whatever you call that, and they, uh, something about it, the parents went to therapy to talk about it, like they would be sent to child protective services, child custody stuff, because it's like,
Because
uh,
you're denying the child's right to,
yeah, yeah.
I
Why,
don't know. I
why would
don't know
that
that that's true, right? You have to look these things up yourself. Oftentimes that's not
propaganda? That's propaganda to get you upset about,
propaganda.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't know that that's true, but
But
um
it's so easy to suck you in with these little fucking things.
exactly.
You're like, oh my God, I did what?
Most of the liberals that I know have a pretty solid, reasonable perspective on that topic. But if you look at the news and the media, now there are extremists that are definitely pushing for these types of things, in my opinion. Obviously, like children should not be changing their gender at all, at
Yeah.
least until 25. That should not happen just because we can be confused and there's all kinds of,
And you told me this too. We can
angry.
be, no, somebody else. I think Magda told me this. She said, what if they're living like a pat, remembering a past life?
Well, that's true. Yeah. I mean, and there's also just the just hormone disruptors and all the stuff in our water,
Great
atrazine.
point. Great point.
These are all,
Estrogen and fluoride
yeah.
and all this bullshit that's in, you can't get clean water.
Yeah. So it's just like, exactly. So it's just like there's a lot of factors, but I mean,
And when have we ever had clean water in human civilization, like human history? How often?
wow, we haven't had prescription traces of prescriptions
Yeah.
floating around our,
Yeah. Birth
you know.
control and
But it's like I
pharmaceuticals.
have a friend who has a niece who is since she was born-ish, or like, and also there's a vaccine issue with this too, because there's, if
Right.
you have a boy and they're injected with DNA of a female
Yeah.
75 times, which is what the schedule basically is, then does that have an effect? Like, have we studied that, right? But so this little girl was presenting like a boy ever since she was very little. This is one of my best friends. She says that ever since she can remember, she was just boy. Like she was just always, right? And so, like, she became, I don't know how old she is now, but I think she's in her 20s and started like transitioning or whatever. I don't know that she's had any kind of surgery, but I do think she takes hormones. But my friend is like, he just wants to be, so he just wants to be left alone, like he just wants to live his life as a man. He's not out protesting. He's not talking to children. He's not trying to, he just literally wants to live his life as a man because he feels like he's always been a man. Like that's how he thinks of himself. And he just wants to be left alone. And like this whole ID thing was like hard for him because their family lives in Italy. And, I guess his ID said male. And now the Trump administration says that, but now it's confusing when he tries to travel because now his ID says he's a female, right? So it's like in situations like that, that's really hard. This is a really peaceful, sweet. I've met this person, like so sweet. Again, just wants to live his life.
So
And
there's
it's
context with everything.
there's context. There's like and there's we have to have compassion now. If it's there's abuse involved, and I've seen that, in pedophilia and these types of things, then yeah, of course,
It's just it's not nuanced. Like it's there's so much. It's a
there's often trauma.
spectrum of
Let's just
things.
say what it is. Like there's often trauma. There's often sexual abuse. There's a reason why somebody cannot connect with their biology or is terrified of their biology.
Mhm.
I worked with a trans girl and she said I was abused, and ever since then it doesn't feel safe to me to be a woman. I don't want to be a woman. I need to be strong like a man so I can fight for myself,
I get it.
right?
And what if
Well,
we
why aren't we having these conversations?
why are we
Why is
having a conversation that kind of? So let me ask you this though.
well, we are, but like, why isn't this being talked about? Because people are scared. People are
In,
scared to
in
do that.
in that type of situation with someone who is abused and they work on themselves, their trauma, does that shift that? I mean, we don't know, but is that possible?
Actually, I think it is possible. Like in German New Medicine, it's a constellation that happens. The constellations we all have constellations. This is when both sides of the brain have been affected by trauma. And we've seen in CAT scans, as we've like looked at these types of things, practitioners who are way more involved in this science than I am, but
Hmm.
that has been done, where the constellation, the degree of the constellation has gone down. So how that shows up in your life and the like symptoms around it, which is usually behavioral, goes way, way down.
Hmm.
I mean, think about what has happened for you in
I
terms
know.
of
I was just thinking about. I
like
watched
I'm way more feminine. I'm way more like one.
masculine here, more masculine for me too. Remember
Yeah,
that?
I mean, think about how all of these subtle ways that like my voice has changed, right? My
Same. My
voice,
voice is deeper. Yeah.
yeah. So all these ways once the bracing stops, and right, I mean, with our bit of like Feldenkraisian teachings with Irene, it's like all the ways that the body's holding that survival stress. Once all that starts to open up, I mean, think about for a woman, those hips start to open up. It's safer for her to drop in
Yeah.
that womb, right? Where she's safer to be connected to her womb, to her cycles. That all happens through regulation and embodiment. So, yeah, I mean, I think that that can change,
Yeah.
but
I mean,
thing
yeah.
the
How
goal is
could
not the goal is not ever to fix again.
right there you go. I was about to say that it's not to
Yeah.
change and fix. It's to go back to who you really are.
Right, but
To become more
it's
of
also just being in the process and seeing
yeah.
what happens, right? It's like, well, I if I had some sort of identity issue, I mean, let's say I've had many identity crises, right? But it's not
Thing.
shown up for me in terms of gender.
Yeah.
But if it did, and where I am in this work, it would just be like, let me see how it unfolds.
Yeah.
The goal is not for me to try to be a man or a woman or like be anxious about that. It's just like, oh,
Just want to be
interesting.
me.
I'm open. I'm open to like allowing this to unfold and see what happens. And I am okay to change. That's the thing is there's an identification that's happened. So there becomes fear around, well, what if I'm not like, dare I say, like what, I mean, I even my cancel culture stuff is coming up for me right now, but like, what if someone was like, oh, I'm actually not gay anymore? Like, would their groups accept them? We make these things that are so clinging to our identity and our groups and what we believe in, and it has to be this way that like there's no freedom to just, you know what? That's not me anymore.
Well, that's what trauma is. Trauma takes us
Exactly.
away from ourselves, and it we take on all these
Well,
uh,
we have to
baggage.
identify with a group because we have to fit in, because that wolf mentality, that pack mentality. And if that's our pack and we're doing something to separate ourselves from that pack, that is terrifying for someone who hasn't worked through their trauma.
And performing like that, like always having to be a wolf pack, like damn, that sounds pretty fatiguing, right? So it's what we're talking about. It's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, of course you're tired. You're actually a sheep,
Overriding.
dude, and you've been pretending to be a wolf. That's me. I was such
Yeah.
a hard ass, such a mean in sports. I was a mean person, and I thought that was so cool. And I
Yeah.
realize now I was hurting other kids because I was hurting.
Yeah.
That's what made me likable because if I if you can't touch me or hurt me and you're afraid that I'm going to hurt you, well, now I have the control.
Hmm.
And now I'm cool. I'm not possible to be. I'm processing this out loud right now. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you can't hurt me, and you gotta like me because I'll
Yeah.
overwhelm you. And it's like, no, I'm just doing. Here it is. I'm just doing what was done to me.
Yeah.
I'm treating myself. That's the motherfucker in this work is how we were treated. We're gonna treat ourselves like that, and that's usually unconscious, and we're gonna project that out into the world as well. And we're
Yeah.
gonna call these patterns me that are really controlling so I can feel safe. And I'm gonna
Mhm.
people please, and I'm gonna be perfect, and I'm gonna intellectualize, and I'm gonna do these things. And I'm gonna change this. I'm gonna change that. I'm gonna change. I'm gonna be addicted to change, and this work is unwinding back and going, you know what? Like that ain't me. And that takes a lot of courage and compassion to see that and to grieve that and to accept the part of you that we buried so long ago.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I
So
think
I
that's
think
probably a good place to wrap
I
up.
was just gonna say, I think I'm at my max conversation.
I'm
I,
glad that we're doing this thing now where
I can feel my eyes getting kind of glassy. Like I can feel myself kind of starting to zone out a little bit.
we
Yeah.
did that last night too, where you're like, "Hey, I'm getting real activated this conversation." I was like, "Me too." You're like, I gotta go. I was like,
I'm like, this is it. This is it. Done.
Selden, where can we find you online?
So right now my website is Selden Integrative Healing, but that's about to change. You can find me on Instagram at Somatic Intuitive. So all my links are there in case my website does change, or it is going to change in the next couple months. So I'm somatic underscore intuitive on Instagram, and that's it.
Cool. Definitely hit up. I almost called you Irene Selden. And yeah, for mine is Mitch Webb. I'm K Mitch Webb on Instagram,
Yeah.
mitchwebb.com. And I'll also throw this out there since we're going to be sharing this on both platforms.
Oh yeah.
What do you guys think about the combo? Like we've talked about doing a podcast. Like, do you guys want to hear more of this, more guest time? Do we need to do
Yeah.
our own little thing together? Whatever. But
Yeah.
thanks for tuning in. This has been a lot of fun. Any last words?
No, I think just everybody, if for people who are here, I'm assuming they're probably on their healing journey or they're doing their work. So my only words are just keep going,
Yeah, make it a lifestyle, dude. Like
100%.
just make it like eating good food.
Yeah.
It's just what we do.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much, Selvin. I appreciate
Thank
you.
you. All right, bye.
Bye.